everyone, and welcome to the Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master Dave, and with me, as always, is Darth Austin.
Hello, everyone.
Oh boy, folks. We've got episode 2 of the Manda Ahsoka. Oh, was that spoilers already for you? Oh, no. How could we?
Listen, who didn't have at least one or two major spoilers before they watched this one? Unless you woke up early that morning and watched it.
You know, it's actually kind of funny you say that because we had talked about that a lot during Mandalorian and the spoilers and stuff that would get thrown out there. And then it seemed like we kind of entered this time where people really weren't spoiling anything, which kind of leads me to think that nobody was watching some of this stuff. But yeah, as soon as last week dropped, people really kind of, I think, got back into the social media aspect of this, I would say.
Well, you got a lot of fans that didn't really care about Boba that were huge Mandalorian fans, so it's not surprising to me at all.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, yeah, chapter 6, episode 6. Let's see, what was our title? From the Desert Comes a Stranger. Not the stranger, which is when you sit on your hand and, oh, wait, no, I won't tell that joke. Just a stranger. So, yeah, very, very interesting stuff here, but certainly felt like, like a place setting or table dressing for other series.
Yeah, like 5 other series. I lost count.
Yeah, very, very interesting what they're doing with Book of Boba Fett. But anyway, before we get into all that, so how's the week been going for you?
Not too bad. Surviving the snowstorm of 70. I mean, the 2022 ice storm. That wasn't all that bad. Mm-hmm. We had we had a little bit of water leakage issues right before the storm. I had to scramble to fix last minute, and we ended up staying with the in-laws because they have heat regardless of losing power. And yeah, it was a fun time. Not too bad. Got to watch everyone kind of panic and drive like idiots.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, I went out the day before to get whatever I needed. And then, I was just like, as it started coming in, I didn't go out. I didn't have any need to. But yeah, I talked to a couple of friends in Texas, and, they're, quarter inch of snow that stops all progress. I mean, apparently they got some pretty decent ice, and one of them is a teacher, and he was, from the Midwest originally, and talking about, it's like they canceled school like 14 hours before, the start of school. And he was like, well, I mean, we would have had to have went to this in the Midwest. And then the next day they cancel school like 16 hours or something before it's like they give them plenty of notification when back when I was a kid, you had to listen to either the AM radio or whatever to get the school closings. God, that seems like I'm really old, but I am. But I mean, it's not like in the small town, our school was particularly tech efficient. So they could have had actual tech updates, but they just didn't. But yeah, there were times when I didn't know about a school closing until after I had been standing outside for the bus for like 20, 25 minutes, and it's just not coming, and you're freezing your butt off. I actually remember one time it was closed due to a wind chill because it was very severe. And I had been standing outside for 20 minutes waiting on the bus, and it's finally like, oh yeah, they just said they're closed. It's like, for what?
Just now.
I've just been standing out here all this time. I think I'm fine. And then I walked in and my nose fell off, but that's a different story. So yeah, the snow, a lot of snow. I think we probably got a good 8 to 10, probably 8 inches in total accumulation. And
about the same as us.
Yeah, but it rained a lot before. So there was like everything was just wet, and then it got icy, and then it snowed over it. So yeah, I have not shoveled out my entire driveway. So, and I'm not going to unless I get the use of a snowblower, because screw that.
It's great. I'm letting my son do it as I record right now.
There you go.
Pretty good feeling.
Yes.
He wanted to help.
Make the child do it. We don't really have too many of the neighborhood kids walking around with shovels anymore. Or,
Yeah.
well, I don't even know if I have any cash around here to even offer them if they were. Yeah, sure. I'll pay you guys for doing the entire driveway. All right, bye. Come back later. So
Just lock your door. Act like you're sleeping. I owe you.
Oh boy. But yeah. So that's that's the stuff going on. I mean, I did make it out last night. Went to a place called Pins, which is kind of a adult video game place with drinks. So
yeah, that place is a great time.
Yeah, I had some.
I don't think the audience knows that's actually where we went for my bachelor party.
Yeah, the one that we went to with you was on the other side of town. I went to the one on the other side of town. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. We played the what did they call that? I think that's called like duck pin bowling. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was definitely
which we didn't do when we went for my bachelor party. I wish we would have. That was more fun than the arcade games, honestly.
Yeah, I think we just kind of camped out on the arcade, but yeah, no, that was fun. Not that we record video on this. I guess we could. Maybe eventually we might do that for Patreon. I've threatened it, but I haven't. But I got a Gibson SG for really cheap, so that was fun. New guitar to add to the wall, play around with. Good times.
New toys.
Yeah, but aside from that, no, everything's been relatively quiet. I do have to say, though, I guess sort of semi-free plug for These Are the Voyages, a Star Trek podcast, just wrapped up their seasons are so weird over there in any of the new Star Trek shows, because they keep like pausing seasons. So Star Trek Prodigy it's an animated cartoon, kind of using similar like Clone Wars-esque kind of CG sort of animation, which I was a little skeptical of, but it actually wound up growing on me. And I gotta say, they really hit pretty decent home run with that show. So if any of you are like, you have kids, you want to watch a show with your kids, because it's not like you can really watch Book of Boba Fett with your kids. I mean, you could, but some of it's a little some of it's a little bit violent there. But Prodigy has been really good. Really, really interesting show. Just wrapped up the mid-season finale, I guess technically. It's like they ran several episodes, and then they had a break, which apparently was due to some of the production time, like trying to wrap up the rest of the half season. I don't even know. And then they showed the rest of the episodes, and then there was like a finale, but apparently it's coming back in the fall, and apparently that's still season 1. So I don't know
That's a big mid-season break.
I don't know what the hell they're doing with that, but they're doing this with Discovery too, and who knows? Hopefully they don't do that when they drop the Picard show. But I am somewhat glad that we do get series over here that they just run to completion.
Yeah.
Granted, they're a little shorter sometimes, but at least they do run them to completion. So that's a positive for the Star Wars. Put one on the board for Star Wars. So yeah, I guess at this point we should probably just actually, before I get started here. But it was like a few hours after we had recorded last week's episode, I did get an email kind of about some of the stuff we had talked about from Chase. And yeah, we had already recorded, so it's technically like a week late-ish. But so he had said, Chapter 4 of Boba has me more interested than I've ever been since the show aired. Kind of going over the back to tank stuff, which we talked about, and that's done, at least seemingly right now. Despite this, I hope it will be a good indicator of finishing strong for the first season. And then talking a little bit about, I made a comment about Bryce Dallas Howard and her directing. I think like her Star Trek counterpart, Jonathan Frakes, and Jonathan Frakes was Commander Riker in The Next Generation, and then movies and blah, blah, blah. She is an actor's director, gets what it's like to be on both sides of the camera. And, he seemed to really enjoy when she had directed episodes as well. Hoping for more from her, and would love to see her at the helm of a Star Wars flick like her dad did with Rogue One. So I think we definitely talked about that quite a bit. Obviously, I think we were both sort of in agreement. It would be really good to get her an actual movie, and I think that's been pretty well rehearsed throughout time here, right? I mean, we've been seeing a lot of people agree with that sentiment so far.
Yeah, I would say a lot of people hold her in the same regards as Filoni and Favreau, honestly. I mean,
right now, yeah, I absolutely think so.
She truly cares about the content.
Well, it is
not the price tag,
right? And it is an interesting distinction because Jonathan Frakes has directed quite a few episodes of varying shows, and I think the only thing with Frakes is that there have been a couple of episodes of like Discovery that he's done, which I don't think we're any better than the rest of Discovery, and I don't think that's necessarily on Frakes, though. I just think that's that series being kind of a bit lower tier. Unfortunately, it's just not as good as other iterations. Although this past season has been better. Season 3 was a real slog of Discovery, but Frakes, being an actor, being a director, and actually having a pretty, I mean, by now a long and prosperous career, I think that is an interesting distinction because obviously Bryce Dallas Howard, she was in the Jurassic World, or whatever, the new Jurassic movies, and then some other stuff. So I do think that is an interesting distinction. There are actors who do take on that mantle, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think understanding this sort of stuff from both angles can be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can work with both sides and try and smooth out all the issues that from experience could arise, and I think she does an amazing job of that. Yep.
Same here, man. Same here. So, yeah, thanks for writing in. That's been like the first email in like 4 years.
Yeah, you said email. I'm like, did you say that wrong?
I did.
Did you mean a YouTube comment?
Well, the funny thing is he could have just texted it to me, but instead he put it in an email. Oh, so anyway, let's go ahead and jump into chapter 6 here, or episode 6 of, I mean, we call it the Book of Boba Fett, but I mean,
the Book of Mandalorian.
Well, in this one, oh my God, look, just before we spoil everything, I can't help but like say this. I was so, I guess, giddy about this episode. There were so many parts of this episode that just had me so excited. And I also think that this episode clearly is trying to give fans what they want without being just fan service. I hope. Also, important to say here, this was directed by Dave Filoni. So this was Filoni's episode here.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Well, of course it does, because there's one character that he cannot let go.
Of course. And, I gotta say, I watched this episode alone, and I think my mouth was probably just ajar 95% of the entire episode.
Yeah.
And there was a part of me, I'm not gonna lie, that was a little annoyed again how little we saw Boba in it. But honestly, it's just too much to be mad about it. It's just so awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm entirely with you there. So jumping in here, we get the lean machine, Cobb Vanth himself, the character that Dave Filoni cannot let go of. Kind of remind me, what did you think about Cobb when we brought him into Mando? What were your thoughts on him in the Mando series?
Well, honestly, my thoughts. The first thing I went to was, it's not what I pictured when reading about him. I really want to be careful not to just rag on this guy because I think he's a good actor, but he's just, the stature isn't there. He's, like you say, kind of scrawny. Well, didn't really fit the Mando or the Boba armor very well.
Yeah,
but,
tall, lanky, skinny.
Yeah. Just weird. Not as far as personality, I think he does a really good job. It's about how I would expect Cobb to be in live action. So I'm a little torn with the character. I like him, but it's a little goofy at the same time in a way.
Yeah, I mean the only sort of thing I would give to that is that, he is living in like this little tiny place in the middle of the desert, and they don't have a lot of resource. So I guess in a way I could understand kind of how that could be, maybe, how he could necessarily be that, that skinny or whatever. But again, I understand. You kind of think about it as like, why isn't he big muscle guy? Or, it's like you kind of want that character to almost be overpowering. I mean, when you thought about it, he was introduced in the Aftermath series, wasn't it? That was the first time?
Book of Aftermath.
Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of in the exact same situation Boba found himself in the beginning of Book of Boba.
Yeah, that's
barely
true.
alive, and really, when you think about it, based on how we met Cobb, it doesn't really. I mean, it makes sense. He's on the verge of death at that point. So.
Yeah.
Timeline-wise, obviously, he would have recuperated. But, yeah, it does make sense, I guess, that he's a little bit smaller.
Well, and I also think that they're kind of making him out to be a little bit more of like an older, grizzled lawman, kind of like a Sam Elliott or something, where he's still clearly dangerous, but at the same time, he's also not like a young man. And at this point, he also doesn't have the armor anymore. So he doesn't have the protection of the armor, which, of course, Boba Fett's armor basically only protects part of the chest and like the shoulder blades.
Well, and again, especially when you're a taller, lanky guy, it's like you have even more areas unprotected with that armor.
Yeah, Boba's armor wasn't exactly well thought out, but whatever. It's fine.
It's like an RPG where you just pick armor that has good stats, not necessarily armor that matches you and fits you well.
Yeah, no doubt. So when we see Cobb here, we have a group of Pikes who are exchanging some credits for spice. And my goodness, how many people apparently did not know about spice in the Star Wars universe, because there's so many folks like,
what?
Dune. It's like, yes, we get that. No. We get that Dune spice is very important, and yes, Dune was out before Star Wars, and there probably was, that influence and everything. But like, spice has been a centralized part of Star Wars. It's the illegal narcotic that everybody traffics in. It's been around. I just thought it was funny that everybody's like, oh, Dune. Oh, I just watched a movie. I haven't read the books, but Dune. Zendaya.
Go watch Solo. Just go watch Solo.
Yeah. It's like, when's Zendaya going to show up? Hey, man, she could be an alien. She could be anything she wants. I'd put her in about anything right now. Although I have not watched that Euphoria show that apparently is
I haven't either.
Really popular, like a bunch of druggy alcoholic high schoolers or something like that. It's like, look, I watched the OC when I was a kid. I know all about that. I have no idea what the show's about, honestly, but anyway, it's supposed to be very popular. But yeah, we have Cobb here. He takes out 3 of the Pikes pretty easily
with 2 shots. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, well,
he shot first. All right.
No, he shoots first. But yeah, so he's trying to send a message. It's like, this isn't your tract of land. You're not supposed to be here. Clear out. He does allow the Pike to take back the credits, and then the spice he just dumps in the sand. So old Cobb,
worth more than his
bro,
town.
You know. Oh yeah, he's not a bro. He doesn't want to just go spice up, get spicy. That's what the mod should say. It's like, it's time to get spicy. Are you guys getting spicy again over there?
Got that nutmeg, man? Oh, I got you your spice.
Yeah.
I got you.
You want the brown? You want the doo-doo brown kind? You want some red stuff? I got the blue.
I got some paprika for you.
This is sand. Scatter. All right. So anyway, we move from there immediately back to Mando in his hot rod, his hot rod Naboo fighter, which has gone around the rounds. I didn't save any of it, but after we brought that in, there was a lot of talk on social media about, you know, they had the crowd like us who's like, oh no, he's a bounty hunter. Why would he not have some sort of cargo type ship? And then a lot of other people were automatically saying, well, he's not a bounty hunter anymore. It's like, what are you talking about? When did we get to that point that we're now not thinking he's a bounty hunter? Like when did we say that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not to mention the last episode, he was, you know, dealing with a bounty.
Yeah, exactly. And granted, the bounty was more for like informational purposes, but still, he was still doing that. And I mean, I don't know exactly how I feel about him being a bounty hunter versus not being a bounty hunter. But at the same token, it's kind of one of those things where how do you automatically assume one way or the other? We just know that in the prior iterations of this show, he was a bounty hunter. He had a ship with basically a carbonite machine. And now he just has a hot rod. So if he does want to either have passengers or take on bounties, he effectively can't in the ship unless he just takes a bunch of heads and stacks them.
Yeah.
He just stacks them up in there.
That's what the little pod's for.
Just head stacking. But it was just such a weird thing and people, look, you know, we don't engage much in social media because I'm personally a bit disgusted by a lot of what goes on in social media. That debate was very, you know, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. No, you're stupid. It was like that across the board.
What are we even fighting about anymore? I don't remember.
I don't know. And it's not about bad mouthing the show or Mando. It's just one of those things that doesn't necessarily make sense. Now the Naboo fighter is fine. It's a fine ship. Looks cool. Sounds good. But it also doesn't really fit what historically we've known about the Mandalorian. So that's why a lot of people have kind of jumped on that bandwagon. But it's not like degrading anything. It's just not what we're used to. And we're just articulating that because I know we talked about it quite a bit.
Yeah, and I've thought more about it. I think it's going to be a sacrificial ship in the next episode. And I imagine Boba's probably going to get him another ship at some point if he ends up on top. That's how I see it going.
Yeah, that's possible. I mean, we could just wildly speculate and say that. I mean, what if the Book of Boba Fett means the end of Boba Fett, and then Mando just takes takes whatever new name of Old Slave One is. What the heck did we name that ship now? Do you remember what it was?
Something burst. Starburst.
Starburst. Fire
Sunburst.
spray.
I don't remember.
Fire spray. That's what it is. So
spray, not burst. Okay, fire spray. I'm sorry. I hate that name.
I wish they could. I mean, just like call it, I don't know, Phoenix or I don't know, the Thunderbird or
the Thunderbird.
I don't know. I mean, the Megazord. Just to call back to our mods. I don't know what you call it. I just fire spray. It's fine. It's fine. So anyway, just back to the episode. Mando is going to visit Grogu. That's something that we got in our last episode, and that's what he's doing here now. One of the problems that we have here is apparently we're not naming this planet yet. Now, in old canon, Luke's academy was on Yavin 4. And Yavin 4 was kind of described a lot like what this planet is, like forested and all that stuff. So I am calling this planet Yavin 4. I agree. I don't care. But I don't think it's been named yet. At least not that I could find in my little bit of cursory looking around before we started recording. So
yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna be explained more, I would imagine, when we get our new season of Mando. I can't imagine they're going to go more into this next episode with what's at stake. It would be kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't see them doing any more in this about, the stuff that's going on in this planet.
The stuff that we're not even going to spoil in this episode.
The good
What'd you think of the little spider droids, by the way?
I mean, look, do I think they're interesting? Sure.
Do you think it's creepy?
Yes, it is kind of creepy, and all these things are doing is putting rocks on top of other rocks.
Wouldn't that be good training for Grogu to just,
you would think.
Build the academy?
Nope. Rock
and
spiders.
by the way, that's a super tiny academy, unless this is the East Wing for the Padawans or something.
Just like the first hut, This is where we sit and like chat about your future hut.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, we have these little spider bots and his little construction crew, and we have R2D2's here. And R2 kind of greets the Mandalorian, brings him over to Spider Temple. Spider bots make him a nice little bench that he can rest on for a while. And R2 turns off.
Yeah.
R2's just down. He won't say any more than he has to anymore.
R2's like, I know you hate robots. I'm not even dealing with you right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of a funny thing about R2. He's just a great bot. I know that like we talk about like, favorite bots and everything, obviously, Chopper's up there, BD from Fallen Orders, up there for a lot of people. Who else? What other droids? I guess there are a few C-3PO fans out there.
Of course, Lando's bot was just the best.
Oh, yeah, from the Solo movie. Was it T something? I can't remember the name of that bot, his little navigator buddy. But yeah, R2's always up there. Granted, maybe there are some bots that are perhaps a little bit more violent, like Chopper, that could probably do more combat stuff, but R2's just such a good bot, man.
Or BB-8, where BB-8 can just hold his own with Darth Vader and Battlefront. It's great.
Yeah, he can just roll around. Okay, yeah, ball droid. So anyway, Mando's kind of chilling on the bench, and then we get flipping Master Luke and Grogu just doing Force stuff.
Which is what was spoiled for me at work on Wednesday.
Yes, of course.
Pretty bummed about it, but I kind of expected this, honestly.
I didn't.
We had talked about it.
I I know we talked about it, but it was still kind of at that point where it's almost a little shocking. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they actually did it. They actually.
Well, I think it's just shocking the same way that it was in the season finale last year.
Yeah.
Just the fact that we're looking at Luke.
Yeah.
It's not even that they put him in the episode. It's just that he's in it, able to be in it at all. You know, it's still jarring, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And so our Luke here, I just had this up somewhere, was played apparently by two actors, Graham Hamilton and Scott Lang, who are the stand-ins for, Luke, obviously with the face, the computer face. Max Lloyd Jones was the one who played him in The Mandalorian, so different actor. Obviously, Mark Hamill coming in with the voice, but definitely manipulated. Manipulated that voice. So, sounds a lot younger, which I don't know. What do you think of that? I mean, I thought it was done pretty decently.
I think that it was all done pretty well, and if you kind of just let your brain shut down enough to accept, yes, it's not realistic. You can kind of see little bits and pieces that look odd, but the fact that we're able to have him back in the show is well worth any little quirks. And yeah, I'm sure someone's going to say, well, this person made a better fan service version of Luke for half the money all by himself. It's like, well, that's great. That's fine. But we have Luke. That's all that matters. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you can see how far we've come from the beginning of Star Wars that we're able to do this. And it's just awesome,
Yeah, agreed. And there were definitely some times where it wasn't as smooth, but I think it was better than in Mandalorian. I'll say that.
Absolutely.
Much. I think it was definitely. I think they learned their lesson in that, and it's kind of funny. So we're talking about that here, but we also have a character later that was not CG'd. However, there was somebody on Twitter who apparently does like a lot of this kind of like improving on. Well, not improving on, just revisioning things. Mm-hmm. And he did sort of a reimagined guy at the end of the show. And a lot of people kind of jumped on him about it, apparently. Like, they didn't really care for it, which, to be honest, like, I didn't think that the edit was better, personally. I understood what they were going for, but I didn't think that the edit was better. But a lot of people were really jumping on them, on that person, too. I wish I could remember the name, but I didn't save it. So there are a lot of really talented folks out there who will do edits, and sometimes they're better. But again, that gets down to this BS where everybody has to like jump down everybody's throats about maybe I don't agree wholeheartedly. Like there is a contingent of people out there that are really, really gatekeepery again. It's like we're kind of back to that a little bit, which doesn't make much sense to me because we have things that we don't like about Star Wars and we have things that we love about it. I think that's any franchise. I mean, can any of you out there who maybe you're Stargate fans, can you honestly say you liked every twist and turn in Stargate and its other iterations, or Star Trek and all of its iterations? No, I mean, nobody can say that. But I did find it kind of weird that guy was taking so much hate for his edit. While we had the other dude who did the edit of Luke from Mando, and it did look amazing. Everybody's like, oh, screw Disney. Disney sucks. They don't even know how to CG and all this stuff, Although, I'm just going to say this, put it out in the universe. I think ILM might be a little outdated at times. Mm-hmm. Just saying. I think that they need to advance more because they were the top for a long time. Long time. And I think that things are starting to maybe progress past that at times. And many
Yeah,
of
and
these
also,
people
I
are just
mean,
doing it on their computers at home.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing too, if you're one of these employees who has a very strict timeline, you're not necessarily pushed for quality over just getting it out.
Yep.
And maybe you're not as passionate as you used to be about Star Wars or just the action of your job doing this anymore. I can understand why fan-made stuff can be better. Because, one, they have unlimited time to do it. They can do it at their own pace.
Yep.
And they're only doing it because they're extremely passionate about the project. There'd be no other reason because they're not making money. Unless you're someone trying to essentially apply for a job by showing your work and seeing how viral it can be. I've seen that quite a bit with different medias, whether it be movies, video games, anything like that. But I don't really... I guess I just don't care if someone does it better because I would kind of expect someone to be able to improve upon any of this.
Yeah, and
really.
This kind of brings us to a minor conversation we had before we started recording about Kenobi, because there was you had informed me of a tweet that's been deleted from one of the executives saying, talking about a May release for Kenobi, which makes sense. May the 4th. I think that would be a good idea. And it is Wednesday.
Which would also follow the Wednesday release schedule, which would be great.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. But the only reason I bring that up, aside from obviously it being news, is that's a series that everybody's really wanted. And I would rather them make sure that series is the best it can be, even if it takes a little bit more time, than trying to throw things together. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. There sometimes is a lot of rushing. I mean, the Sonic movie, you remember how everybody basically there was so much hate and it looked terrible. It really did look bad.
Yeah.
And literally that entire team went back and completely reanimated everything for Sonic, because it looked like crap. And I don't know how it looks now. I'm not interested in a Sonic movie, which I think they're actually doing another one. But take your time. I'm in no rush. I do want Kenobi, but
yeah, and
take the time.
I'm sure this is something that most people wouldn't agree with, but April rolls around and we get an announcement, hey, we're postponing for a year, but I can promise you that the story is going to be much better fleshed out and well thought through, no plot holes, wonderful acting. We're going to work on adding to the cast or replacing some people we just don't feel are up to the caliber that they need to be for this. And we're able to pump out a few more episodes and add into the story and flesh it out a little more in that way. I would probably wait if I knew for a fact that could happen, because I want this to be perfect. It's extremely important to me.
I mean, I don't think that there's been any real talk of like disastrous stuff going on with Kenobi. It's just pandemic. But I mean, we can talk to Rogue One, because Rogue One was delayed, rewritten, at times. And then the same thing happened to a larger extent with Solo. Solo was reshot in, certain instances. I mean, they brought Ron Howard wasn't the original. I'm getting that right? That's who they brought in for Solo.
Ron Howard? That's definitely worth a Google before we throw that out into the internet.
Yeah. No.
Sure.
I don't know why I was so unconfident about that, but that's exactly what happened. So, but they brought him in to smooth this out, and sometimes that's the only thing. The only add-on to that is it doesn't ever seem like we get that last part that you said. We're trying to make this the best it can be. These are some of the mistakes. It's just like, we're delayed. blah, blah, blah reshoots. And then, everybody runs wild with speculation, but whatever. It doesn't matter. So anyway, we probably should get back to the episode here because we have Grogu trying to get a frog. All right.
Yes.
He wants one of these one-eyed frogs real bad.
Which I don't know if I ever noticed that the frogs in this universe were one-eyed, or maybe that's just different than the ones we saw in Mandalorian. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. So Grogu's supposed to be meditating with Luke here, and just about the time when Grogu would have had this thing in his mouth, that's when Luke kind of like, what are you doing? What are you doing, little dude?
And of course, I love that they wait for him to actually open his eyes to see it, because, I mean, come on. He knew what was happening.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But we get to that playful side of Luke that we always talk about, the non-canon Luke that we all loved growing up. And it's really cool to see that, because I think we were all a little worried about it being a super negative Luke. Of course, this is before a lot of the events that caused him to be that way in the movies, but...
Yeah, this is a little bit more of a show-off Luke who had to then levitate every single frog in existence, Yeah. Grogu's like, oh, my...
well, if you actually pay attention and learn, you can do this, and then you can have all the frogs do.
You can be a complete glutton. All the frogs.
The apex predator.
I thought it was a good... and it harkens back to Yoda, where... Luke was trying to raise his X-Wing and he couldn't. And Yoda shows him that it's, size matters not. And, you can do whatever you want through the Force. And Grogu, although he certainly knows how to use the Force in a capacity, he's still a student. And this still amazes him that, okay, so here's a master that can totally do amazing things. And of course, the hope is that Grogu then can learn from there. Another thing I thought was kind of,
and you mentioned it. Talk about Yoda references. This episode is riddled with amazing references, and they were all very well done. Not fan servicey. Hey, you remember Yoda's a character? Like, no. Hey, remember this from the movie specifically?
You remind me of someone. He was short too. I did think it was funny when they're walking, doing this little walk and talk in the forest, and Grogu,
Luke's just throwing him with the Force.
Yeah, I thought that was actually pretty well. I mean, it was well thought out, because at the end of the day,
I am small and slow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've commented on that in The Mandalorian when they're just out, walking. It's like, geez, Mando must be
down
going
there just running.
Yeah, yeah. It was pretty cool. But yeah, we get references of Yoda used to speak in riddles, and all of this stuff, and then we actually get a bit of a flashback where Luke assists Grogu remember some of the things that he's blocked out, and we get this scene of basically Order 66, and there were 3 Jedi who were kind of protecting him or attempting to protect him, which I gotta say was it's just such a throwback, because at this point in the galaxy's history, we don't have a ton of Jedi, and it's so far removed from the prequels. But to see just like 3 Jedi here just swinging sabers around was kind of cool to see again.
Yeah.
I mean, we've totally seen it, but it was just really cool to see it here in this very limited view.
Yeah, totally agree with that. That was an epic scene, and I hope we get more flashbacks like that. I know we've been ragging on flashbacks in this show, but that's actually a flashback I want to see more of.
Flashbacks we actually care about.
And of course, this will be, carried into Mandalorian. I don't think we'll see any more.
Will it?
In Book of Boba, but we'll see. It depends on... I don't know.
See, I think the thing about leaving this in Mandalorian, I think that takes away from Mandalorian, although, we're obviously taking away from Boba Fett. But when we talked about this show looking like it was going to set up a bunch of different series, it kind of almost feels a bit like...
We're getting a Luke series.
That would be awesome.
I mean, who would complain about that? Who?
Oh, there would be people.
They were not me.
Where's Mara Jade? Bring back the Solo twins. What? Wrong universe. So,
Yeah.
but no.
I mean, yes, I would love to see that, but this
yeah.
would be an amazing series, especially if we can get a little bit of Ahsoka in there too.
Yeah.
Which we already have. Jumping ahead a little bit.
But yeah, no, I think that it would be interesting to see just a Luke series and kind of get a little bit more of this training and bust it out away from Mandalorian. That I think would be cool. Grogu kind of awakes though. They've changed scenery here. He apparently was out for a bit. You know?
Partied a little too hard.
Yeah. Oh man, those flashbacks. Ugh. It's like the 70s all over again.
Give me a Tylenol and coffee, Luke.
Yeah. Ibuprofen. But I do like here, Luke is, continuing to for this sort of almost like this push. I can teach you how to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then we flash back to the Mandalorian. He's laying down on his little shelf in the most awkward, like fist hands at his side, sort of laying fashion. And then, of course, like you alluded to, we've got Ahsoka, Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka here. And that's kind of what we were implying in the beginning. Of course, Dave Filoni directed this episode because he just can't let the character go, which is fine. Yeah. And I don't know what you thought about this, but I think in this particular episode, like I kind of saw Dawson attempt to do a lot more of Ahsoka's mannerisms from the animated series. Like there were just certain ways she held her hands and, that sort of stuff that it was just kind of neat to see, if you really look hard at it.
Yeah. I mean, I really appreciated the Ahsoka stuff. The second I saw her, I got this mixed bag of emotions like, oh, you're in it too. Why are you in it too? This makes perfect sense why you're in it too. I'm okay with this. Well, because really, you needed that bridge character with Mandalorian being there too.
Right. Well, for me, I mean, we had talked about this before about, did Luke ever meet Ahsoka? Well, very clearly.
And now we have our answer.
Which was amazing. We even had a little part in here where she, what was the exact wording? Like, you're like your father, or you remind me of your father, something like that.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so cool. Although the internet in its gross way had to make things weird. There was one tweet, with a picture of Luke and Ahsoka standing there. It's like, I actually think it might have been a YouTube video. It doesn't matter. But anyway, it was like, did Ahsoka take Luke's virginity?
Oh my God.
It's like, please stop.
But we do get from the dialogue here a bit of a hint that they had just recently met.
Yeah.
Based on what Luke says near the end, will I see you again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's amazing that we do have this moment where we clearly know now that they did indeed meet, because there's that pretty well, I guess we'll call it famous meme that went around of like alternate universe had Anakin not went bad, and there's like Anakin and Obi-Wan and Padme laughing, and like Luke and Leia are on the floor, Ahsoka's like playing with him and stuff, and you kind of get that family picture in the bridge between Anakin and Luke now being Ahsoka. And although Luke did meet his father, it was brief. Ahsoka knew him for many years. Mm-hmm. And she knew...
And of course, to him, that would be very valuable to get to learn more about him. And it makes a lot of sense because, obviously this isn't necessarily canon anymore, but Luke did write quite a bit about his father and his exploits in some books. So this actually explains that in a very cool way, why he was able to learn so much.
Right. And then the other thing too is she knows a lot about Obi-Wan as well.
Yeah.
Which is really, really neat as well. Although Obi-Wan, we've seen him appear to Luke as a Force ghost quite a few times, and we assume that probably has happened since. But again, living, breathing, link to the past type of deal, I think was really neat. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Another thing that's kind of funny to think about is just the fact that this being Book of Boba, we have Luke in a story about Boba Fett and based on their past. I just think that's funny that we have a character that's friends with both of them, and like there could be a reference like, well, I know this guy on Yavin 4 that might be able to help you out. No.
Yeah.
No, I don't want his help.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, let's see. Well, anyway, we do kind of get into a little bit of this Mandalorian versus Jedi code, and Luke knew that Mando was on the planet, and then eventually Grogu knows as well because they see the ship. However, the reason
Although
why...
that doesn't make sense because Grogu would have no reason to think that was him based on the ship he was flying.
I think it was more of a feeling. You know, he more felt him. And then obviously he knew for sure because Luke talks about it.
Mm-hmm.
But Ahsoka intercepts the Mandalorian in the beginning as a way to kind of like sort of usher him through this process too. It's like, you know, if he sees you now, that could, you know, kind of adversely affect him in the long run because he's very connected to you. And so Mando does make the choice to not meet with Grogu. However, he does leave him a little present, which I thought was the ball from the ship in the little hanky, but it was not.
Boy, were we wrong.
Yeah, we'll talk about it here in a second. I want to talk about Grogu jumping.
Yes, I love this. This is probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire episode, especially with how it ends with Luke showing him the potential.
Yeah.
And obviously a throwback to Dagobah, which was just awesome.
Well, I mean, he did also have Grogu in a backpack, just like Yoda, so that was fun. But yeah,
pretty much the exact same choreography that he used and everything.
Yeah, this little couple of hops, and not really using the Force was funny. But yeah, then Luke shows him, and I mean, I kind of wish they would have done a little bit more like Force jumpy stuff, if I'm just being honest. I mean, it was fine, but it was like, this kind of looks like something I would just expect a crazy athletic person to do, if I'm just being honest.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a little bit more of a floaty jump here and there, but it's like, I want like big jumps, huge jumps.
Which is something that's, I guess, other than like the prequels, you'd never see much of in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
I mean, the animated stuff, obviously, you do because it's easier to do. But yeah, I mean, we've never really gotten to see Luke do an amazing jump, which is kind of sad.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, again, we're rolling through a lot of the philosophy of balance and so forth as we're kind of in the trees and the wind's moving through the trees and everything. And, you know, that through the Force, Grogu can also find his own balance, which I think was really neat, just to get a little bit more of that Jedi philosophy. And then, hilariously, this episode just keeps continuing with this training montage. We get, you know, we get Grogu doing the crane. We get Grogu with the training ball, which was really neat. And we even get Grogu really working out, you know, doing flippy, spinny Yoda stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's so awesome to get to see Luke be able to train someone from Yoda's species. It just seems like full circle to me.
Yeah.
In such an awesome way. And I was really hoping they would eventually get to this point where it's like, okay, Grogu has to be able to do, you know, a lot of Form 4 acrobatic stuff. Eventually, we need him to get trained pretty quickly if he's going to be useful at all. And I love how they did it. And it wasn't super cheesy. It was actually really well done.
Right. I also got to say this part where Luke, you know, is kind of showing him some of, you know, some saber combat here, some shadow boxing saber combat was really, really cool to see as well. You know, we talk about, you know, igniting the lightsabers and everything, but it was really cool to just see that little montage before we get the flippy spinnies out of little Grogu here.
Another thing we kind of glossed over, I guess probably just didn't think about it till this moment. When Mando's talking with Ahsoka, we get the reference like, hey, I thought you said that we shouldn't train him. You wouldn't do it. Why are you okay with Luke training him? And she's like, well, because it wasn't my decision, and I'm not going to question him. But he's questioning himself when they have this conversation, whether he's doing the right thing. And it's kind of cool to see a side of Luke that I don't think many do other than in the movies, because he's not this wise master of many who's completely sure of his decisions. He's not sure if it's a good idea to even bring the Jedi back at this point, and I thought that was a really cool moment.
Yeah. And you know what else is cool? Just shooting lasers at your Padawan without warning him. I also like the little part when he shows him the training ball and like Grogu just sort of like rolls it back to him like he's like they're playing fetch or something like that. But Grogu seems to be a relatively quick learner. The second time the ball attempts to shoot at him, he does flip away from it, and we kind of see him then jumping from rock to rock, and then finally using the Force to destroy the remote. So. Again, I think Luke had said, I don't remember exactly how he said it, but he was like, kind of something about like, is his heart in it? You know, I think Luke sees the potential, and it's like, I don't know, is this kid really wanting to do this? You know, is it really in his heart to continue here and like make this happen? Because I'm clearly seeing, you know, that he can. But will he continue type of deal, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, he drives that home when he's talking with Grogu about, because he has the option at any time to leave to be a foundling instead of a youngling. And, I mean, he's acknowledging the fact that he already has a strong bond with Mando with that creed, and he's not even sure himself why he's choosing to be a Jedi over a Mandalorian.
Yeah. So we generally have the episode up, you know, just to kind of remind us of things. So Luke does say this. It's more like he's remembering than I'm actually teaching him anything.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting as he's sort of talking with Ahsoka here. We don't know how much he was taught in the temple. We don't know how much he's repressing from that time. We know that he is repressing, but we don't know how much he was actually taught. So, yeah, is Luke teaching him? Probably.
Mm-hmm.
Is he remembering some things? Probably. Is some of it instinctual? Possibly.
Well, it's kind of similar to what we see with Cal Kestis in Jedi Fallen Order. He doesn't necessarily learn new things from a master. He's kind of just knocking some rust off, and as he performs these acts of a Jedi, he remembers everything that he's started to kind of give up.
Then he gets sweet ponchos after defeating bosses.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Yeah, they kind of did that through sort of, it wasn't quite like flashback scenes, but it kind of was those little training scenes for new skills.
Yeah.
So yeah, very, very. That was a great game. Looking forward to the second one.
Definitely.
So anyway, but Luke does say sometimes I wonder if his heart's in it, as he's holding this little package, you know, that Mando had given to him. And I almost felt like there was a little bit of an annoyance in Luke with Mando. It's like, you know, when he kind of talks with Ahsoka about the Mandalorian being here. I don't know exactly 100% what to make of that. Maybe, I mean, because Luke's not really, he's not really going to understand any of the old sort of potential prejudices between Jedi and Mandalorians, because that's not his time frame. Maybe more of like an annoyance in maybe the scope of like, this could really crush my teaching here. And, you know, then I think eventually he comes up with this choice that he's going to present Grogu with. So, yeah, I don't know. It was kind of an interesting sort of very small thing for me with Luke.
Yeah. You know, just kind of jumping back a bit, did you feel like when he was unlocking these suppressed memories, that we could have potentially seen Grogu speak? Because I kind of felt like that was on the table.
Maybe.
Because he is in his 50s. Obviously, we don't know a lot about his species, but realistically, wouldn't you think if he's able to learn how to fight, do all these acrobatic feats and everything, and he's being trained at the academy, wouldn't he be vocal at that point?
That's possible. I feel like if we get more in Mandalorian, or if we get an independent series, I think we will hear him talk eventually.
Yeah.
They're totally going to do that backwards speak though, in like a croaky voice, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea of the lore behind that being he learned to talk that way because that's how his people talked, or maybe his master talked like that, or something like that. Not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't feel like that mannerism is something that you'd be born with.
I just want to see,
taught.
I just want to see like when his voice comes out, it's Phil Lamar.
Frogs give me.
No, just straight up Phil Lamar. Just no backward speak. Just Phil Lamar. I think that'd be cool. I want that frog. Give it to me now. I need that frog. I want both of those gifts, Luke. I want them both. Just has like a real deep, bassy voice. I think that'd be hilarious.
Luke just gets up and walks out of the room like, I need to go process this. Hold on.
Well, so I
need to meditate.
In the Prodigy series, there's a character called Rock Talk, and it's like this giant rock creature. But when they finally give it a voice, it's like this little petite girl's voice. You know what I mean? And I just want the antithesis here. The little tiny green alien is just like this really deep bassy, like James Earl Jones comes back and that's how we reintroduce James Earl Jones to the Star Wars universe. Shout out to James Earl Jones. That'd be fun. Just something like that. Some really deep voice. I think that would be hilarious. They'll never do it, but I think it'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
They get Gilbert Godfrey to come through and just like,
oh my God, no, shut up.
Master Luke. I can't even do it. I'm not even going to try. I'm going to cut that. I can't do Gilbert. I'd have to practice
blow
that
everyone's eardrums.
It's fine. So anyway, as we move away from totally not Yavin 4, but obviously Yavin 4, we get a cameo. In the Book of Boba Fett, we get a cameo by Boba Fett.
Yeah, it's great to see him reprise his role for 5 minutes.
I mean, kind of. I mean, he wasn't even here, but yeah, we have this council. We've got BK, Boba Fett.
Confirmed that he's part of the group now, which is awesome. I feel like him and Mando could pretty much take care of 90% of the issue alone.
If we just got like BK and Mando going off in adventures in season 3.
What if we put BK and Mando season 3? Why not?
Well, if they do that, then we're going to...
Especially if you kill Boba.
Yeah, if we do that, we're totally going to have, like, Afra at that point, and then it'll just get crazy.
Yeah.
Which that's another thing. We talked about this, but a lot of people thought when BK came forward, a lot of people's instant reaction was, where's Dr. Afra? Dr. Afra forever. Which, I like Dr. Afra, and I think Dr. Afra would be great in live action. I think it would be like a potentially less crazy but similarly psychotic Harley Quinn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that it would be cool, but just that probably would have to be its own series.
Oh, and also, by the way, just speaking of how awesome BK is in this scene, BK is just always pissed off.
Yeah.
I mean, look at his face. He is just perpetually pissed.
Well, I mean, even in the last episode, he was just chilling at the bar drinking, and nobody was even talking to him. And he just gets angry and rips off people's arms sometimes. You know, sometimes he just has to rip arms off. It's a Wookiee thing. Oh, you know what? I heard this conversation at one point. There were people that were talking about who would win in a fight, BK or Chewbacca.
Yeah,
and I think, at least in the context of that discussion, they were all siding with BK. Now, I understand that because he's like a gladiator champion guy. So,
right.
And he's bigger, looks bigger. But I don't know. I don't know how you really power scale Wookiees.
That's not a discussion I even want to. That's a big rabbit hole right there. I ain't trying to go down.
What's the power level?
I mean,
what's the power level of BK versus Chewbacca? It's like BK shows up and he flips down his visor. He's like, "Oh, he's over 9,000. How could this be? He's smaller than I am."
BK gets really pissed off and his hair turns yellow.
Their entire body just like turns yellow and just spikes out, you know?
Yeah.
God. All the hair gel in the world. So anyway, back to our scene here. We also have the Mod Squad, the Mighty Morphin Mod Rangers.
Which are starting to seem even less impressive based on the counsel that he's getting around him.
Yeah.
Which is sad.
Well, you know, and they're fine. They're just street enforcers, basically. You got to have allies, and they're okay.
Yeah. They're a step above the Gamorreans. That's about it.
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah. Gamorreans are pretty strong in this.
Yeah. So we're discussing kind of the problem with the Pikes here, and Mando comes in, and you know they're looking for foot soldiers. Like, I think I know where I can find totally fine people. You remember that guy from like forever ago? It's like, no, I wasn't in the series then. Who are you talking about? Oh yeah, the guy who with your armor.
Just go talk to Dave. He'll fill you in. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
So Mando goes back out and meets with Cobb Vanth, who you know initially really wasn't interested in kind of joining this. Like, you know, there's a peace. We even have our stupid deputy here who's like, "You can't park that thing there. That's not where we park our deputy. Ships." Well, he's dead.
And why did we have?
Look,
well, yeah,
he's dead.
Yeah, I don't have to hate him again.
He is 100% dead. He reminded me, you remember in Tombstone when they have the shootout at the OK Corral, and there was that one really super tan blonde guy. That's who I envisioned this guy as, you know, with the wide eyes. He's looking around, and he was like I don't remember if he wasn't the guy who shot first in that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, the deputy guy just had the shifty eyes at the end, and he totally got blown away. But anyway, so we have this conversation
in Freetown.
Yes, Freetown. What? We call it Freetown now because we're free and it's a town. Oh.
It sounds like something straight out of like the Fallout universe. Super low effort put into naming their towns. Yeah. This is called Freetown because we're free. This is called Nuketown. Guess why?
Yeah. Well, it suits them better. So Mando is trying to enlist their help. He does wind up leaving, but at this point, Cobb kind of wants to call a meeting of everybody. So seemingly, it's like, yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll have a little town hall meeting. You know, put it to a vote. You know, the ballot boxes are the most secure ballot boxes in the entire history of Freetown's elections.
They got a little sand in them, but they're legit.
They're totally legit. It won't come out that all the pieces of paper say yes because I want them to be. So anyway, just a little fun humor there. But then we get the man coming from out of the desert. It's the guy.
The title card.
Look, I got to say something here.
And you knew the second you saw the silhouette who it was.
Oh, yeah, 100%. There was no question. But I love this scene so much. And look, I am not a Cad Bane fan, really. I've never have been.
You said it.
I did. Yeah, I was trying to be as nonchalant as possible. But look, this was like really cool, straight up Western showdown, high noon, middle of town type of deal.
This was an epic Mandalorian episode ending. Yeah.
Yeah, so we have the face-off between Cad Bane and Cobb Vanth, and the whole thing is...
And the deputy.
Well, yeah, and the deputy. And it is really tense, and all they needed was like some spaghetti western like string arrangement to come in here and just like hype it up, have like the whistling guy in the back. I can't whistle, my lips are too dry right now, but just have like this little whistle and like, a tumbleweed tumbles past, and then in comes the French horn. Da-da-da! Yeah, just that sort of thing.
And I just love the dialogue because like things just start going downhill so quickly. Like every time Cad speaks, like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh, he just said he shouldn't have given away his armor. Oh no.
Yeah. Well, yeah, what was somewhat interesting about this dialogue and then even the eventual conclusion is that the Pikes seemingly are trying to give them an option out. It's like, just leave us alone. Let us run our stuff and you're good. So it's not like they're trying to outright just murder everybody. And Cad Bane here is even like, if you just like let everything be cool, I'll just walk away.
We'll pay you. And we'll pay you,
Yeah.
It's not even like I'll kill you if you don't do it. It's like we will make you pretty rich in the process.
Well, and then Cat also says something important here, too, about Boba Fett. He's like, Boba Fett's a cold-blooded killer. He worked for the Empire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's an important thing that we've talked about over and over. Like, this new reformed Boba Fett is not historically how he's been. And coincidentally, dude, I think eventually we need to get some cosplay on, and we need to get these holsters and these blasters that both Cat and Cobb have, and we're going to do some makeshift cosplay stuff, go to a con. I think that'd be pretty sweet. You can be the blue guy. I'll be the not blue guy.
I'll be honest. I think if I was ever going to do a Boba-style cosplay, I would rather do a Cobb Vanth than Boba. Yeah. I just think it would be cool.
So what did you think about Cobb here, though? We need to talk about the aesthetics of Cobb Vanth, because what I alluded to earlier is that artist had kind of made Cobb's face a little bit more slender and drawn out, kind of more like Clone Wars. And
you talk about Cad Bane, you said Cobb.
Excuse me. Yes, I meant Cad Bane.
Okay,
so,
Cad Bane.
Yeah, they made the face
so,
a little bit more elongated. The only thing that I didn't really like is they kind of give him more of like a Squidward looking nose. It just kind of looked.
Yeah.
It looked. I mean, not here, but in the edit. That's what I didn't like about it. It just kind of looked a little bit too much like Squidward. But like, what did you think about this mask, prosthetic, whatever we had here with Cad? Or Cad.
For me, I think the color was kind of the most jarring thing. Because the color is off. It's a little bit too light for me because, I mean, he's almost purple in Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. If I remember, I guess I'd have to look again, but I feel like he is more purple. As far as the costume, it's amazing. I think that the mask wasn't poorly done. I think it looked pretty realistic. Or maybe it's just paint. I don't know which, really. I would imagine probably paint.
It's probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
There's got to be some prosthetic on there.
Yeah, you would think so for the cheeks and everything. But
the eyes.
The eyes. Well, obviously the eyes. But seriously, like the eyes were... Did they seem too big to you? Even for Cad? Because I felt like they did.
It kind of looked to me like an X-Files alien.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you definitely got that vibe.
Yeah, and again, I'm not hating on it. I thought it was fine. I thought it was effective for what it was. But yeah, I mean,
and also the dialogue was very well done, but I kind of wish we would have gotten a little bit more of that accent from Cad.
Okay, but here's the thing though. Cad Bane was voiced by the original voice actor.
Really?
Yes, I did.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Probably should have the actual name of. I'm fine. Hold on. Give me one. Hold on. Geez.
1 second, please. Just 1 second.
Oh, jeez. What's the guy's name? Oh boy.
But I felt like there was a substantial difference in the tone of his voice.
Corey Burton, stop talking. I'm just,
Corey Burton. Okay.
Yeah, so it was
that name
same
sounds
place.
very familiar. I feel like I know that from something else.
Maybe
Quite a bit, actually.
Google.
But no,
Maybe
I'm watching
Google
the
will
episode
help
right
me.
now. I can't watch any episode. Besides, it's not Star Wars related. We never talk about anything not Star Wars related. But yeah, I mean, the voice was a little bit iffy for me. The eyes and skin color was a little odd. Other than that, I think everything else was very well done. The dialogue was great. The outfit was awesome. The blaster was awesome. They did even the back piece going into his respirator-ish looking thing is pretty awesome. Not cheaped out on that at all. Yeah, and this was just an epic shootout. I mean, that deputy kind of screwed him over royally. Because honestly, I think, I don't know. Who do you think would have won without that happening?
Well, let me pause just real quick because I'm in it now. He also voiced Count Dooku in the Clone Wars.
Oh, he
series.
did?
A lot. He actually did a lot of voices, but it was basically like Dooku and Cad Bane, Zero the Hutt. Quite a few. He's also done like a lot of other Disney stuff, a lot of things tied to like, the Mickey verse. He also did like voices for like Crash, some of the video games. A lot. Just a lot. Just again, one of those Tom Kenny type of deals where he's just been around forever. A ton of voices here and there. Anyway, very long. So your question was, who would I think would win between Cobb Vanth and Cad Bane if the deputy?
Without the deputy.
I still think Cad Bane probably would have
Think
won.
so.
And I think the reason is mainly because I think Vanth is he's great, but I think he's old. I think that's.
Yeah.
I think he has been cast in the part of the grizzled lawman who can deal with all the thugs and everything. But when you reach like the big gunfighter, like the real bad guy of the series, he's the one who gets Marshall Whited, and that's a Tombstone reference as well. He's just the guy who gets shot and PO's the hero of the show. So if your question was who would win in a quick draw between Mando and Cad Bane, at this point I would say Mando would outdraw Cad Bane.
Yeah. Wouldn't matter anyway because he would just deflect it and shoot him regardless.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. I mean, Mando actually has real armor.
Mando could be the slowest draw ever.
And
like, all right, I'm drawing, and also I'm loading my gun as I draw, and I still kill you first.
Yeah. And also, by the way, Cad shot that deputy 4 times too.
Yeah.
He's super
overkill
dead.
for sure.
He's super dead. But
I actually expected him to shoot him before any of that. Like you could tell he was just annoying him.
well, I think the threat was always Vanth in that. So that's
Of course, yeah.
However, seemed like he only shot him in the shoulder.
Yeah. So he will probably still be in this fight. If not, I think he'll rally the rest of the town because at this point, obviously, there's no chance of peace.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't think the town's going to be as apt to hide
No doubt.
as they were talking.
Now, I also did have another question from somebody that I was talking to this week, and they had asked about basically a scenario. So obviously we got Cad Bane, but he's like, so if you had the choice, would you rather see Cad Bane, too many C names, or Hondo Anaka just show up? I was not a huge Hondo fan, so I'd rather see Cad Bane show up.
I don't know. I don't even feel like you needed anybody, honestly. I understand why they did it, absolutely, and I don't mind it, but just the sheer volume of pikes you'd be dealing with, especially when Boba still doesn't have an army.
Yeah, but
at this point.
But again, this is a Dave Filoni Western, and he understands Westerns, and this is just the enforcer. This is like the guy that's supposed to scare everybody else, because the Pikes aren't there's no Pike that is being defined as like the master fighter guy.
Yeah.
So they're just going to be set down effectively, but they have to have a champion. There's always a champion.
Right. And another reason that I would pick Cad instead is because we have Fennec Shan.
Sure.
And we get to see a rematch, which will be amazing.
Yeah, I thought about that too, and that could be really, really cool. I think as far as Hondo, I mean, Hondo would probably just be somebody on Boba's side, more than likely.
Yeah.
More comedic. I just don't necessarily think I need that much. But yeah, the potential between for a rematch of Fennec and Cad Bane is pretty cool, and
which I'm more interested in that than seeing Boba fight him, because Boba has been very underwhelming this entire series as far as dealing with any threat at all. Not that he's really done a lot of fighting yet, but he hasn't been that great. Certainly, power scaling wise, he's weaker than he was in Mandalorian by far.
Sure. Right. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you there. So, I guess the last little piece here, well, two pieces. We are back at our bar with our favorite Twi'lek, which I totally will find her name again as soon as I pull up the correct window with the correct 4,000 tabs. And I'm looking. Garsa Fwip. Fwip. Like cool whip.
Whip good.
Fwip. And we see a couple of Pikes come in here with the ice cream machine. And, it's like, oh, that's the credits. They're like, gonna buy him off. No, you're all dead. Jizz is dead. Fwip is dead. Those two helmet cleaners are dead. They're all dead, right?
I would have to imagine, based on blast radius, when we see the outside of it. But I'll tell you what, this took a turn for me. I did not expect this. I expected the Pikes to buy off this bar and then become a very big problem. I was pretty surprised.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at that too. Trying a little bit more in the way of subterfuge than just straight up bombing. Now,
and it's also odd too, because these people really have done nothing seemingly to the Pikes. But there again, Cobb Vanth literally killed 3 of them and dumped their spice, and he was given an option to just surrender.
Well, but the only thing is like Cobb didn't align himself with Boba Fett. Fwip did.
True.
So I
Although
think
we had questioned that quite a bit based off how that alliance was.
Yeah.
I think it's more just kind of playing nice and seeing what happens more than an alliance.
I mean, she paid the tribute. So
yeah.
I think that's kind of what matters here. And obviously Boba's been seen going in and out of this establishment as well.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Now, even though I was surprised, this is about one of the most gangster things we've seen happen in this series. So I appreciated it.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I don't know if old Max Rebo, I don't remember if he was sitting there or not, but Max Rebo and the Jizz band are done.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. We didn't even get to hear the song. That one
more
song.
time.
One more time.
Wouldn't that have been awesome if Fwip's like realizing the bomb's about to go off, and she just turns around, it's like, quick, play it one more.
Or that's the song that's playing. I didn't even remember what the song was playing, but it'd been funny if that was a song that was playing right at the end. It's like, just one more time. All right, let's get out of the bar and get back into the now completed Jedi decision room. So Luke presents Grogu with a choice. And he shows Mando's gift, which
not what we expected. A little disappointing.
A little
and very hilarious.
It's a little mithril chainmail shirt.
It's adorable. And it totally would not fit him. Look at that neck hole. That ain't fitting his big head.
They may or may not have thought that out very much. Maybe it expands, okay? Maybe it expands.
Yeah, maybe.
I thought that was funny. My first thought was, if you remember back in Lord of the Rings in Two Towers, where they're getting ready to defend Helm's Deep, and Gimli, the dwarf, puts on a giant thing of armor, and it hits, or chainmail, and it hits the ground. It's like, didn't have time. Obviously, this is the reverse. We have a little tiny shirt, but that's what I just thought of. Like little, a dwarf putting on this giant thing, and then we have this little tiny like schmedium, the extra small chainmail mithril shirt, which I thought was kind of funny, but not a bad gift. I want a
helmet.
Though.
I knew it wasn't gonna be, but I want a helmet.
Well, we both wanted a helmet, or at least like a chest piece or something. But this is kind of practical, I guess. It would be, honestly, wouldn't it be a bad idea for Jedi to
protect you more realistically than what Mando's armor would, because it covers your entire body.
True.
From front to back.
Think about this. If those Jedi that were defending Grogu had these, getting shot in the chest, it would have been fine. They would have just kept swinging away.
They'd just be Supermaning it, just like, come on, hit me. Hit me.
Like that, what is it? Have you seen the Batman trailer where he gets like shot by like a machine gun,
Yeah.
It's just like that. Keeps going.
Not to mention, now I just think of that scene where they're making this for him completely differently, because that took a whole damn spear. If I were Mando right there, I'd be looking at the my fearless leader like, so what else did you make? Where's the rest?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
was that just the spear tip?
I think it was the tip. Yeah, just the tip.
Yeah,
but
just the tip.
But that would have taken so long to make, though. Like those chain link deals are they're not a joke. It takes a long time to make. And how did she know the measurements? I mean, come on.
Right. Well, clearly she didn't.
So that
she guessed.
Right. So that's choice number one. Choice number two, however, is flipping Yoda's lightsaber.
I feel like I know what I would choose if I were Grogu in that moment.
The chainmail.
Yeah. Daddy's armor.
I choose both.
Both.
Phil Lamar comes in. Both.
He quickly uses the Force to put the chainmail on and hold the lightsaber. Luke's looking at him like, I don't think I can beat him.
He has become indestructible. He cannot be defeated.
No, this is where you have James Earl Jones, because he'd be like, now I am the master.
You thought I had forgotten everything, but now
I remember how to kick your butt.
When I left, I was but the student. Now I am the master. Oh, what a time. So anyway, this is the choice put before Grogu. Effectively, if you take the chainmail, you can go back to Mando. You're a foundling. You can follow that creed, or you follow our creed, take the saber, learn how to use it, do cool flippy
Which, by the way, don't give Grogu that saber yet. He's not ready.
I just see thousands of sliced open frogs just filleted. He's like, I like them crispy.
The start of episode 7, you see a frog just flying through the air, and Grogu's holding out his lightsaber. It just cuts him right down the middle.
I like them a little crispy. Broiled.
I just like the frog legs. Just the frog legs.
Broiled by saber. Yeah. Anyway, so we don't get to know what the choice is right now. And again, this is like one of those things. Is it going to be made in Mando? Is it going to Mandalorian, or is it going to be made in its own independent series? Where clearly a little bit more set up for Ahsoka series, right? We have that here. So I don't know, man. I mean, there's a lot that went into this episode. It's pretty epic.
It's so jam packed, and you compare it to the last well, not last week's episode, but the first 4. So much happens. So much is established compared to what we have in the past.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And
the fan service is so good.
Yeah. By the way, did you look at the art sketches that they always pop up at the end of the episode for this episode?
No, I didn't this time.
I want like many of them.
Yeah.
Like for my wall.
Custom made art for all of it.
Yeah. It's like I'm going to get screen grabs and then just do them. Yeah, some of them are really, really cool there. So anyway.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at him now. I do love the one where they're walking together.
Yeah.
And he's just looking down on that's pretty epic.
Well, I mean, even the Cad Bane one's cool. The one with like Luke holding out the box, to Grogu. A lot of it's just so cool. So anyway, anything else we need to talk about for this episode? Are we ready to go into ratings?
No, I think we're ready for ratings.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, the conceptualized artwork for the saber is totally just Luke's saber.
Right.
Well, Anakin's saber, the Youngling Slayer 5000.
Yeah.
So I thought that
you
was
mean
fun.
Ray's saber?
No, Ray has a yellow saber, completely different. All right, man. So
do you even want the art where the frog is jumping towards Grogu?
No, not that one.
Do you even want that? You want that, don't you?
Not that one. I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. All right, dude. So go ahead. What do we got rating wise, and give us
25 out of 10.
All right. So we're not going to be serious. I get it now. It's fine.
No, I'm giving this episode a 9. It's amazing. It's awesome. I'm not willing to go above 9 because I don't want to write myself into a corner in case next episode's better. But it's a solid 9. It's great. Just absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
The fan service is ridiculous. Dave Filoni is ridiculous. He loves us. He truly is the ultimate Star Wars nerd.
Dave Skywalker. So IMDb wise, they have this at a 9.6 with 14,000 ratings in. 74% are 10s.
Wow.
0.7%.
Wow.
0.7% are 1. So like it's all basically like, and again, 74% is a 10, 15.6% 9, 5% 8, blah blah blah. So yeah, insanely highly rated episode here.
Yeah. And I'll say the only reason I don't want to go any higher is because, again, we just don't care about Boba Fett anymore. And I'm okay with it at this point. We just don't. But it is still sad because it had potential to be more.
The series as a whole currently is setting at a 7.8 with almost 50,000
And think what it would be
votes.
without this, though. It'd be pretty bad, pretty abysmal without it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, apparently they're already showing nominations. What is it nominated for? Cinema Audio Society, Costume Designers Guild Award, Motion Picture Sound Editors. I mean, what the hell? These aren't real awards. Get out of here. All right. So, yeah, for me, I would say what do I want to give this? Look, it was a great episode. It really kind of kept me on my feet throughout the entire time. It does feel a bit out of place for this series, as it has nothing to do with Boba Fett. Oh, here's an interesting phenomenon. Episode 1, 7.4. Episode 2, 8.3. Episode 3, 6.4. That's Go-Go Power Rangers. Episode 4, 7.6. Episode 5, 9.4. Episode 6, 9.6.
Gee, I wonder what the correlation is.
I wonder what happened. So yeah, as far as a
It
rating,
was when Boba changed his armor and he went chrome.
yeah, I guess. So for me, it avoided a lot of the kind of almost cringy pitfalls that the last Mandalorian episode had. And it actually told some really interesting stories and harped on a lot of very interesting themes that I am interested in, which made it interesting.
Very interesting.
So yeah, I think it was the best episode of Book of Boba Fett. That much is for sure.
But at what cost?
But at what cost? It cost us everything. So I'm going to probably be just slightly more generous, but not as generous as the fandom is being. And my thought was 9.2.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Really, really good episode overall. A lot of cool stuff to touch on, but definitely just almost a jump off point for everything else that's going on. So, but good stuff. Very good stuff, man.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Kind of leaves the only question left to be asked. What do you think will happen in about 4 days when we see the finale?
Well, I think at that point we're getting back to the Boba Fett side of things. What'll be interesting is who will kind of lead the particular charge. You know what I mean? And
That's kind of what I was thinking, because I don't really think we're going to see a lot of Boba fighting. I mean, he's surrounding himself with all these main characters.
So the next episode is Robert Rodriguez again. So I actually think they will. I think we'll see Boba front and center. What'll be interesting is who takes on Cad Bane. What else do they have up their sleeve? And are there any betrayals? Betrayals will be interesting. So yeah, it should be interesting. There could also be another swerve if you think about it. Is this just the Pike Syndicate, or is it going to set the stage for Black Sun?
Yeah,
because we've talked about the potential for a Kira series. You know, bringing back Emilia Clarke. So I think that's possible. Because even the Hutt said this is like bigger than what you think it is type of deal. Like you don't know what's going on. And I think it's just the Pikes. We understand the Pikes. I think it's bigger than that. And then the other question becomes, is this a limited series?
Mm-hmm.
That's really a big thing. Because if it's not, then I feel like Mando's just going to be Black Sun. Which unfortunately is what we got a little irritated about War of the Bounty Hunters with. Because it was dumb. The premise was dumb.
Yeah, and very repetitive. And I cringe at the idea of how they would make it repetitive in the show too.
Well, I just don't want to see it devolve into War of the Bounty Hunters. I want it to be something different. I mean, Black Sun could be cool. Could be cool. But I don't know. I don't know if it'll even go in that direction, but it seems like they're kind of pulling back from kind of the retaking of Mandalore, which is sort of what we envisioned the next season of Mando being. But you have to tie this in because you had Mando in this show.
Yeah,
so
you don't have a choice now. I think the biggest question on everyone's minds is going to be what the body count for Ezra and Sabine will be when they introduce them. Because who else are you going to bring in?
What the body count is. It's all about the body count with you sicko.
I'm serious. Through this entire episode, I kept thinking, it's like, who's next? Ezra? Like, what are we going to do? Is Ezra going to be... And don't get me wrong, if we see him on Yavin 4 with Ahsoka and Luke, that'd be freaking awesome.
I think that I feel like will be the Ahsoka.
It's got to be Ahsoka.
That'll be the series for that. I think we're kind of done with Jedi for now for this show.
Yeah.
And I think we're probably done with Jedi and Mando for the time being.
Probably.
I think we've got other things that are going to pop up there, but we'll see. Plenty of time. But yeah, we are really close to wrapping up Boba Fett and possibly May release of Kenobi. We've got some back issue comics in the High Republic that we're going to talk about. We've got 2 High Republic books that we're thinking about. We've got Thrawn that we need to get through as well. So there is a lot.
Have you read Thrawn?
I haven't even started any of that yet. I figured we'd do it fresh when we're ready to do it. But yeah, I have not got into the High Republic stuff either. I haven't heard anything really about it. I don't think it's as highly rated as the other ones are, though.
Well, I know that when we were going through High Republic, it seemed like every other day I was getting some big chunk of information from the comics, and had some spoilers from it too. But it's just gone silent. It's kind of scary, honestly.
Yeah, no doubt. So anyway, I think that's about where we need to start cutting it off. We went rather long this time. So anything else we need to chat about before we start to let them go?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, folks, hopefully you enjoyed the episode. I'd love to hear from you guys if you have any thoughts on, this episode or the potential future of Star Wars television or books or whatever. You can find us on Twitter at TC Plan Podcast, Facebook if you want to find us there. We may or may not be there, but we are there in spirit. Or just send us an email. I'd love to hear just anything. That's a good place to send a long form or whatever. And that's to tcplanpodcast@gmail.com. But for now, we are going to get out of here. So you guys have a great rest of your week.
And as always, may the Force be with you.